Hello, I'm Kyle Schultz with West Central Technology, and today I'm going to walk you through how to install, set up, and use the 3CX web client. By default, as soon as you are set up on the system, you will receive a welcome email that will look like this. If you scroll down to section 2 within that welcome email, you will be provided with your web link, as well as your username and your password. So first of all, is what I'm going to do is we're going to right click and copy that password. It's always going to be randomly generated. And then we're going to go over to, or we're going to come up top here and click on that link, which will bring us to the web client. From here, we can go ahead and plug in our extension, followed by our password, and then click login. From this screen right here, it's going to go ahead and show you pretty much right away that, hey, you know what? You can download this app instead of actually using it within your web browser. So we're going to come over here to the right and use the desktop app, and we're going to click on install. That's going to go ahead and start a download. We're going to click on that download to run it. And then it's going to come up and ask us some questions. Now, depending on your type of infrastructure, there might be a third option within this window that will say domain networks. Go ahead and just check them all, whether you have 2 or 3 options, check all of them, and then we're going to click allow access. Once that's done, we're going to come back over to the web browser and we're going to click on this provision button. Once we click on that, we'll get a little pop-up up here and we're going to go ahead and click open. Once you click open, that's going to relaunch that 3CX app, and then it's going to go ahead and provision that app right away for you. From here on out, we no longer need the web browser, so I'm just going to kind of close out of it and the email. Now I'm going to make this full screen just so that we can kind of see it a little bit easier. By default, you'll notice it's only going to show me my extensions that are online, so right now I'm only seeing that one extension. The first change that I would always do under here is come over here to the 3 little dots. We'll come over to settings. We'll come down to view, and then we'll hit this checkbox that'll say show unregistered extensions. Now if we come back up here to people, you'll see that I can now see every single person that is within my phone system. Now from this list, I can get a little bit more creative, and under this drop down, we have different groups. So for right now, we don't really have any groups. I'm going to come in here and create a group really quick. And now if I come down here to the groups, you'll notice that there's a Wilmer. So if I go ahead and click on the Wilmer group, all of a sudden now you can only see the users that are within that group. And then if I go back to all groups, now I can see everybody again. The second thing that I would always recommend everyone doing is coming back down to the 3 little dots here and clicking on settings. And then right here in the third section, we have that password field. So I'm going to paste that password that we had from the welcome email, and then I'm going to go ahead and set my own password here, and then go ahead and click save. Now at that point in time, it's going to go ahead and log me out. You'll see that little disconnected prompt popped up there at the bottom, and then it'll log you back in with that password at that point in time. So again, I can come back to people, and it'll go ahead and show me my registered extensions again. Alright, so now that that's done, I'm back over here on the people screen, and essentially, like I said, we'll see all of our extensions. You'll notice that I have 2 different test extensions here that are up and online. So for instance, let's say that one of them actually goes ahead and they get into a phone call. So I'm just going to kind of call myself from there. You'll notice that I get this down here in the bottom where it kind of starts flashing at me. And it'll bring up this little dial pad. From here, I'll go ahead and click on the green button and answer that phone call. And then essentially, it'll be just kind of brought up here in the little prompt. I'm just going to kind of mute myself so I don't have really any sort of feedback or anything going on. But from here, we have a couple of different call options. For instance, if I wanted to go ahead and start recording this call, all I got to do is click on record. That will actually turn blue, just like this mute button does. Right now, this record button is grayed out because my license doesn't actually offer the ability to record on my demo unit. But this light will be clickable for you, and like I said, when you click it, it'll turn blue, and then at that point in time, you'll know that it's recording. To get it to stop recording again, just click it again, and then it'll go away. From this call pad, I can also go ahead and transfer a call. So if I click on the little transfer button, I can come up top here and I can just start typing someone's name, and that's going to go ahead and show me two different options. Either A, I can transfer directly to them, or B, I can transfer to their voicemail. You might also get a third option within here, which would allow you to transfer to cell phone if they had their cell phone number provisioned within your phone system. And then from there, it's just as easy as clicking on that person, and then now that call is transferred into their voicemail. You'll notice that it says voicemail here of Tucker. So I just kind of hung up there on my phone. Just going to go ahead and get a phone call again. So the other thing too that you can do is there is a attended transfer, which this one essentially it works exactly the same. You go ahead and click on it. You can then go ahead and either type in the person's name, or if you wanted to, you can come up there and plug in their extension. Either way will work. What now essentially is if I go ahead and click on John Smith, the call is not going to go through because he doesn't have a phone provisioned right now, but it's going to essentially call John, so that way I can talk to John first and say, hey, you know what, Kyle's on the phone for you. And then at that point in time, once I hang up, that call will then get transferred over directly to John. The next option down here on the left is going to be chat messages. So if, for instance, we wanted to come up here and click on the little plus, I can go ahead and click Start Chat. And then I can choose the extension that I want to start chatting with. And then I can just type a little message. And then when I go ahead and hit enter, that's going to go ahead and send that message over to them. From there, they can go ahead and respond. And it's just going to go ahead and show up in that message there. Now, for instance, let's say that I had that chat window minimized and I was off working on something else and just kind of open up to a web page. And anyways, I'm off and working, and let's just say here that another chat comes in for me. At that point in time, you'll notice down in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll get a little fly-in that'll have their name as well as their extension. We can go ahead and click on that, and that's going to go ahead and open up that window right away. And from there, you can go ahead and reply to them again, just like you would with any other chat message. Our next option down here is going to be our call history. I'm kind of skipping over the web meetings. Again, with my license on the demo, I don't truly have a license to show you. It's essentially just like your Teams meeting. You can go ahead and schedule a meeting, very self-explanatory. So again, down here on the call log, you'll go ahead and display all calls. And you can go ahead and filter that out then by incoming, outgoing, miss, abandon. It'll give you their caller ID if they had one, and then show you what phone number it came from. If you wanted to call that person back, if you just hover over it, you can go ahead and just click on the call button, and that's going to go ahead and start calling them right away. At that point in time, you're just right back into a phone call, and then you can kind of do whatever you want with that extension at that point in time. The next one down here is the panel. So the nice little thing about the panel is it will essentially show you all of your phone calls. So again, if I were to go ahead and call myself, you'll notice that that call pops up, and you'll see right now it's kind of like an orange little signal, or an orange little icon, and it's showing that extension 103 is calling 102. Once I go ahead and click on answer, you'll notice that that icon will change color to a solid yellow, meaning that I'm actually talking to them at this point in time. And this window will show you multiple calls if anyone else is calling in, so on and so forth. The last thing here that I am going to, well, actually there's a couple more things I'm going to touch base on, is your contacts. So under the three little dots, we have your contacts. If you come up here to the upper left-hand corner, you can click New. And you can just come in here and start typing away. And you can just kind of start typing away, fill in the first name, fill in a last name if you want, if there's a company that they belong to. Now the one spot or the one piece that's a little bit tricky here is if you want this contact to show up on your desk phone, you have to plug it in the mobile field. If you put that phone number in any of these other fields on your desk phone, this contact will not show up. And then from there, you can just come up over here to the upper right-hand corner and click Save. And there we have Grandma built into our contacts. So if Grandma were to go ahead and call me on the little phone prompt, we'll see Grandma's name show up here. And if I also wanted to call her, I should be able to come in here, and if I can type, you'll notice that Grandma will show up on here, and I can just go ahead and click it, and it's going to start calling right away. Obviously, this isn't a real phone number, so that call is going to fail out. Next one down is voicemail. If you have voicemail set up to be on your phone, they will show up in here. You can have or it'll show the caller display name or the caller ID, followed by their phone number, as well as have a little play button or a download button in here for you to listen to that recording. Now, a more common setup is to actually have voicemail to email, which at that point in time, all your voicemails will be sent to your email and they're never going to exist on your phone or within this app. At that point in time, you will have the exact same kind of setup within your email. It'll show you their caller ID, the number that they called from, as well as an attachment that you can go ahead and play to actually listen to that recording. If you would like to go ahead and also have transcriptions set up, please go ahead and reach out to us at 320-441-7050, and we can set up those transcriptions for your voicemails when they're actually in your email. The last option here underneath settings that I am going to touch base on is going to be your statuses. Now, your statuses here, you do have 6 of them, and essentially these statuses control how your extension behaves. So essentially, if I am in available status, which by default everyone is in available, you can know that, or you know that by looking in the upper left-hand corner and looking at that color of the square. So the dark green is available, the orange is away, the red is do not disturb, the light green is like a second available, or in this case it's labeled as lunch, and then the final one is again like a second do not disturb, or in this case it's labeled as business trip. So within this window here, under the settings, status, and available, I can come up here and set a custom message. So if I put it to in office, you'll notice up here, all of a sudden I have an available -in office. If we go back to the people screen, you'll also notice underneath my name now, it says in office. You can go ahead and leave little messages for people. Probably not all that important on the available status. But if, for instance, you did go to like a business trip, you can say out on vacation, please call cell phone. And then at that point in time, if I go back to the people, you'll notice right now it says in office. If I flip over to business trip, it'll say out on vacation, please call cell phone. And if you just kind of hover over it, if they do have a longer one like that, it'll go ahead and show you on that drop down. So within here, you can do a couple of different little things. For instance, with the business trip, if it is a internal call, so in other words, one of my employees is calling me or one of your coworkers or colleagues are calling you, you can go ahead and say, you know what? I actually want to go ahead and forward that number to my cell phone. Now, that was not in there. All right, so for instance, if I am on a business trip, I can go ahead and say forward internal calls to, and then for a drop down, I can say my cell phone. So in other words, if someone from internal or one of my colleagues is calling me, I kind of want to take that call, even if I'm on vacation. They might have something important to tell me. Otherwise, if it is a external call, well, you know what? I'm on vacation. I don't really want to go ahead and take those calls, so I can go ahead and send them to my voicemail. Or if you wanted to, you can go ahead and send them to another extension. So I'm on vacation this week, and Carl is actually going to go ahead and cover anyone that calls me. So I'm going to forward those calls over to Carl. So in other words, anyone that calls me while I am in this business trip status, those calls coming from the external or another external number are going to be forwarded over to Carl. However, internal phone calls, so anyone inside my office or inside my organization or any of my colleagues, will be forwarded over to my mobile. And if I did want to change this as well, I can say put this to vacation. And at that point in time, you'll notice that no longer says business trip. Now it says vacation. So I can filter these between available and vacation and then kind of drop them back and forth. Now all of those settings are available underneath each and every single one of these options. However, if I go to available or lunch, I get a couple more options as well. And I got two different sections, kind of one for unanswered calls and one for if I'm on a phone call already, or for whatever reason my desk phone is turned off or unplugged, or maybe our main site lost internet. So if my desk phone is unavailable, I'd rather be taking these phone calls from my cell phone. And if I don't answer a call within 20 seconds, or if for whatever reason 20 seconds was too short for me, I wanted to bump it up to 60 seconds, then at that point in time, I can go ahead and transfer it over to my voicemail. Down here at the bottom, we can also kind of take this away and leave the busy or not registered as the go to voicemail, or to essentially same as all calls, which would be this one up here. But under general options, I can also hit the checkbox here to also ring my mobile. So that means that anytime that anyone calls my extension, it'll be ringing my desk phone as well as my cell phone. And that cell phone number is going to be pulled from your general settings underneath this mobile section. So if you want to go ahead and fill out your cell phone number there, please note that you cannot have any special characters in there. It has to be in the format that is shown below. And then once your cell phone is built in there, you can then go ahead and hit the checkbox to forward to my cell phone. Next one under here is going to be able to accept multiple calls. So let's say I am on a phone call with someone already, and I've been waiting for a phone call from 3CX for a while, and all of a sudden they go ahead and call in. Well, you know what? I might be on the phone call with someone internal to my team, so I can just be like, hey, you know what? I got another call coming in here, and I want to take that. Well, at this point in time, once you hit accept multiple calls, it'll actually go ahead and let that call ring through. If I were to go ahead and turn this off, for instance, if I had a second call come in, it's going to automatically put me as, hey, you're busy, and it's going to follow your call route that you have set up down here. If you go ahead and check the accept multiple calls, it will then go ahead and follow your unanswered calls and let that line ring for 60 seconds before transferring it over to your voicemail. And then finally, the very bottom option here is to go ahead and accept push notifications. Push notifications are for the 3CX cell phone app. So here again, if you were available, your cell phone app is going to be ringing. However, if I go over to vacation, well, I don't necessarily want my cell phone ringing on the 3CX app itself. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck it. At that point in time, that 3CX app on my cell phone is not going to be ringing, or wherever you have that app installed at. And then the final option here is, or I guess I got two more left, but one of them is going to be greetings. So this is where I can actually manage my greetings. You have a default greeting, so essentially if someone gets brought into your voicemail, hey, sorry I missed your call, please go ahead and leave me your name, number, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But the other thing that you can do from this screen is you can actually record different voicemail greetings based off of what your status is. So if when I'm on vacation, I could come in here and I can click record greeting and then record a different greeting that I can then select for, hey, I'm currently on vacation. Please go ahead and call our main number. And then at that point in time, they'll be left with that message rather than the sorry I missed your call message. And then the final option here is going to be scan QR code. This QR code is what you will use to provision your phone extension. So essentially you'll take the cell phone app and it'll ask you to be scanning a QR code. You can point that at the screen and then your phone's going to go ahead and be registered at that point in time. So the next thing that I'm going to go ahead and show you is the actual 3CX app. Now that we've gone through and done our scan QR code, we will then go ahead and bring up the 3CX app. So once I grab my cell phone here and bring that up, this here is what the 3CX app will look like by default. So you obviously have a native dialer, and just like you could with any other cell phone, is you can go ahead and just start dialing out your phone number. Move my password filler a little bit off to the side, and then go ahead and if you click on the green button, that would go ahead and start dialing that phone number. However, for the case of this demo, I'm going to come under my recent calls, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the call button. So now that I'm actually within a phone call, you can go ahead and, like I said, it'll show you who is actually calling you, and then the number that they called you from. From this screen again, it looks just like the PC app. So essentially you can go in there and place a call on hold. You can go ahead and conference. If you wanted to transfer the call, you can click on transfer. And there again, that will bring up that do you want to line transfer it to someone or do you want to do an attended transfer? Just remember at this point in time that the attended transfer will allow you to essentially go ahead and call the person before that call is transferred to them, or you can do a blind transfer. And the blind transfer will just transfer that call directly to them. Here again up at the top, you can type in their extension and then hit the little transfer button. I'm going to come down here to the bottom left under status, and that will actually go ahead and show me the status of all of my extensions. From there, we can go ahead and click on the three little dots, and we have the option to call mobile, chat with them, or send an email. From here, if I wanted to, I could essentially come up to the test 103, and sorry, the 101 extension is what I meant, and then we can click on chat. You'll notice there's our chat conversation from earlier. Again, it's just as easy as coming back in here and typing in a message, and that's going to go ahead and send that chat message again. Now on my other screen is what I am going to do for you is if I come back over to status, the next one over is going to be our contacts. So by default, this will show all of your contacts. It will include both your cell phone contacts as well as all of your 3CX contacts. Um, and then to the right, we'll have recent calls, so it will go ahead and show all of your recent calls. You can then click on the little call button here to call them back, or you can click on the middle button here to call their voicemail directly. So if you know, for instance, that, hey, you know what, Kyle's on vacation, I just kind of want to leave him a message for when he gets back, I don't really want to bother him. You can essentially click on that middle call voicemail button, and that will call you directly to their voicemail instead of ringing their extension. And then the final one again is just going to be your voicemail. And this will go ahead and show any sort of voicemails that you have within the phone. Again, most people are usually voicemail to email, so they will never actually appear here. In the upper right hand corner, you can see that same little green square that I showed you before. If I go ahead and click on it, you'll notice that we get all of our same statuses. We got the available, the away, the do not disturb. Now this is a different extension, so it's back to lunch and business trip. But here again, you can click on the little edit button to the right of it, and you get all of the exact same options that you do within the web UI. And you can go ahead and set up however you want that profile to ring. Now, if I just simply wanted to come up here and say, hey, you know what, I'm on a business trip, boom, there you go. My extension is now back over to that business trip, so those calls are not going to be flowing in for me. If I wanted to come back up here and say, you know what, I'm available again, there we go. I can flip back to available, and I'm good to go.